joining me here for Talk About It Tuesday. And child, today is we're just we're just reverbing back. I see. Okay. Today is the day I get to say, I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. For all of the naysayers that, oh, the 14th Amendment, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. Guess what? Guess what happened? Guess what happened? At approximately 6:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, guess what decision came down out of Colorado? Trump cannot be on the ballot. But honey, let's get into it. Let us get all the way into it. Hey, Benny. And yes, Peaches is going to be helping us tonight. Now, the Colorado Supreme Court ruling, it was a little over 200 pages, the opinion that was issued. Trump is disqualified from the GOP primary ballot. It was a 4-3 ruling. Before you get all in a bunch regarding the 4-3, we're going to get to that breakdown in a minute, okay? Just have some patience, okay? Now, according to page 8, the synopsis is Trump is constitutionally disqualified from holding office, according to the 14th Amendment, what they found. But on page 8, section 3 of the 14th Amendment states encompasses the office of the presidency. And on this point, the district court committed a reversible error. The district court was correct in its assessment that January 6th was an insurrection and that through personal actions, Trump engaged in the insurrection. The First Amendment does not protect Trump's insightful speech regarding January 6th. Trump cannot run as of right now in Colorado. The ruling is directly in line with originalist or traditionalist views on the Constitution. Now, on page 1, it does state that the ruling is stayed until January 4th of 2004. Before you lose your mind, as always, I'm going to break it down for you, okay? Now, this is due to the Supreme Court of Colorado stayed until January 4th of 2024 so that it can be subject to any appellate proceedings. This is a clear reference to SCOTUS. They already know that this is going before SCOTUS. Now, the stay date was chosen because the Colorado ballot must be certified by January 5th, 2024 by the Secretary of the State. Now, Trump's team has said that they will be seeking a stay. There's already a stay and an appeal. Of course, that appeal will go directly to SCOTUS. Now, here are the Colorado deadlines, okay? On Super Tuesday, excuse me, which is March 5th, 2024, is Colorado's preferential presidential primary. Say that 5 times fast because I know I can't. And keep in mind, Colorado is a male-only voting state. Keep that in mind as I give you the rest of these dates. So therefore, 20 days before the primary, that would be Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2024. That's when ballots would need to be mailed. And remember, January 5th, the ballots must be certified, and that's also the deadline for the Secretary of State to send the ballots off to be printed. This gives SCOTUS a very narrow time frame to rule on the appeal. Now, there are some questions regarding this, but probably not the questions that you're thinking of. Probably not the questions that you're thinking of. Major question is, will Clarence Thomas recuse himself due to his wife's heavily allegedly involvement in January 6th and things leading up to as we've had multiple courts now admit and determine it was an insurrection. And then I also have some questions as well, because let's not forget, Trump nominated, and then they were appointed 3 justices: Gorsuch in 2017, Kavanaugh in 2018, and Coney Barrett in 2020. Now, if you remember, when things were going down with Nixon thought that since he had put the majority of the people on the Supreme Court that he was going to get away scot-free, and they was like, no, sir. But there was one that recused themselves because they were like, that might seem a little fishy no matter how, I rule. Now, the plaintiffs in this case, just a reminder, in the Colorado case, the plaintiffs are predominantly members of the GOP. Now, haven't I been telling y'all to stop freaking out about, second Trump presidency? I told y'all the GOP doesn't even want him. But let's continue. There is no gag order, partially due to the short time frame, and also it doesn't look very likely that SCOTUS would gag a presidential candidate. Like I said before, the decision was 4-3. The 3 dissenting still agreed regarding the insurrection. They only dissented regarding their questions over how much power does the state really have over matters of this. That's it. That's why they dissented. See? Now, there's also some questions as to will SCOTUS plausibly treat this as people treated the emoluments clause while Trump was in office and completely violating it. They were like, oh, it's so complicated. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's clear as day and it's very simple, but we shall see. Within this 200 plus page opinion, Associate Justice Gorsuch is quoted. I kid you not. I kid you not. And I got it for you. You know I got it for you. You know I got it for you. And it says, and I quote, as then Judge Gorsuch recognized in Hassan, it is, quote, a state's legitimate interest in protecting the integrity and practical functioning of the political process that permits it to exclude from the ballot candidates who are constitutionally prohibited from assuming office. SCOTUS, you ain't gonna be able to pull what the GOP is trying to pull now, as they're trying to spin the narrative and gaslight the nation over what Trump said over the weekend and what he said previously. Like we don't have good ears. Well, I don't really have the best ears, but I can still hear. Gorsuch, them your words. And I'm noticing in a lot of opinions and a lot of filings here recently, they are drastically quoting any combination or any of the Trump appointees to SCOTUS. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Okay. Now, this will definitely cause SCOTUS to prove where their allegiance and their alliance is. Is it to democracy, as it's supposed to be, or is it with Trump? But we shall find out, because they got till January 4th. And keep in mind, this is the second Trump case that will be before SCOTUS that has to have a quick turnaround. But the constitutionality is not on Trump's side. So we have to see if these originalists, these traditionalists, are going to really show their hand or not. Now, speaking of he that should recuse himself, Clarence Thomas. The herpes infection that just keeps on herping. Okay? I don't even know if herping is a word, but it is for all intents and purposes tonight. Now, everybody keeps talking about this private school tuition that was paid for his grandnephew, by Harlan Crow. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to this information that I give you. We're going to go a little bit further, and then I got a little bit of a bombshell to drop on you. One, in all the years that I've followed the career of Clarence Thomas, because I can't stand him. I couldn't stand him before. But then the whole Coca-Cola can, if you don't know about that, Google is free. Really pissed me off. And then Jenny Thomas trying to white woman all over a black woman really made me want to give her all the skippity paps, okay? But they keep talking about his grandnephew who moved in with them. Now, the name that they're putting out is Mark Martin. Okay, keep that in mind. Mark Martin. According to what I could find, Jenny and Clarence took him in 1997. Go with me here. Now, going through the family tree, Mark's mother would be Clarence's sister, Emma Mae Martin. For some, that name may sound familiar. We're going to come back to that in a minute. But early January 2000, after taking... Thomas was no longer pleased with his SCOTUS salary. He was pushing for higher... One, he was pushing for speaking fees because there is technically a ban on members of SCOTUS taking fees for speaking engagements, because there was an incident, not on SCOTUS, but with a tax writer for Reagan in the 80s, who kind of got his palm greased via a speaking engagement. So they're trying to prevent that. But he also wanted to pay to his SCOTUS salary. Now, he was feeling this way after an all-expense paid conference that he attended. And this is one of those things that, no, he didn't report it. And yes, he was supposed to. Thomas threatened to leave SCOTUS due to his finances. And this was just ahead of the Bush-Gore presidential election. He informed a Republican congressman on the plane ride home from the luxury resort of this. And he had a timeline that he was going to step down within a year. And he hinted that one or more justices may step down due to pay as well. The GOP then tried to convince the powers that be to increase the pay of associate justices on SCOTUS. When that didn't pass Congress, and then Chief Justice was like, I don't want to put my hands in this. I don't think this is what we're supposed to do. That's when the billionaires came in. Now, at this time, if Clarence Thomas would have done things the proper way, inflation had not been accounted for when it came to the pay of Supreme Court justices. They were not getting like cost of living increases. So Congress could have legitimately given them more money. But Thomas was being sneaky, as always. So that's when the billionaires, as I call them, the sugar daddies of SCOTUS, started subsidizing his lifestyle. Now, some GOP Congress members, like I said, were concerned that he would leave because Clarence Thomas is kind of the intellectual center of the conservative portion of SCOTUS. So they really didn't want to lose him, especially during an election cycle where it was very plausible that Gore could have taken the office. Technically, if Gore had a little bit more patience, he would have taken the office. But, Now, upon the beginning of the subsidizing of his lifestyle, his rulings and views became more, as I like to call it, pro-wealthy conservative. Not just conservative, pro-wealthy conservative, because that's a whole different beast. That's a completely different beast. But honey, I'm not done. Y'all know me. I'm politically nosy. Now, this resort that he was staying at was a 5-star resort called the Sea Island Beach Resort in Georgia. At this time, some way, somehow, he was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I don't know how you take on one child and end up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, because the child didn't start going to the private boarding school at that. Boarding school. So he can't even say that he raised this child. He sent this child away to boarding school, and Harlan Crow was paying the $6,000 a month fee for him to go to boarding school. But also at this time, Jenny Thomas was allegedly soliciting advice on how to take on the extra expenses of one child. You'll understand this look on my face in a minute. Now, at this resort, you want to know why he was there? Oh, he was there. And if you've been here for a while, you know this is a trend for Clarence Thomas. He was there for an off the record conservative conference. Color me surprise. He gave a speech on the flight home. That's when he was sitting next to Cliff Stearns, Republican congressman out of Florida. He said, and I quote, Congress should give the Supreme Court a pay raise. And he went on to say, and I quote, if lawmakers didn't act, one or more justices will leave soon, maybe next year. Next year being when the election would happen. Sneaky little sumbitch, allegedly. But let's roll back the hands of time real quick. On June 3rd, 2019, in 4K, all over the TV on C-SPAN. C-SPAN, okay? My favorite telenovela. Well, second to the whole Arthur Knight saga. Thomas stated publicly that his compensation through SCOTUS is, and I quote, plenty, and that he and his wife don't live extravagantly. Bitch, I know you fucking lying. Now, as of 2022, let me break some numbers down for y'all real quick. The average U.S. worker, their salary, $60,070 annually. Congress, $174,000 annually. An associate justice with SCOTUS, $274,200 annually. I think that's pretty comfortable, especially when you say you're not living an extravagant lifestyle. How the fuck you hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt? Boy, what you doing? Because I remember you throwing your sister under the bus. We're going to put a pin in that real quick. Now, given that associate justices are former judges or attorneys, they don't have to be. It's not a prerequisite to become to be nominated or appointed to SCOTUS. You don't have to be in the legal system. We just kind of made it a tradition and made it an unwritten rule. But let's say they're like, this ain't enough money for me. I'm going to go back to the private sector. In a high earning firm, on average, okay, let me say this again, because some of y'all don't listen. In a high earning, high end firm, on average, a person could take in $7,294,000 a year. That LSAT be looking better and better every time we talk about Clarence Thomas. You know, if he was still a practicing attorney, I probably would be far more motivated to take the LSAT just so I could just go against him in a courtroom and make him cry one good time. Actually, he gonna find himself in a courtroom real soon anyway. So I might. Okay. Now remember I told you he previously threw his sister under the bus. And remember I said that the grandnephew, that it's being reported that he and Jenny took in 1997, but didn't start having financial woes till 2000. And Harlan Crow, they didn't put the boy into boarding school until he met Harlan Crow, which was shortly after. He was like, wait, give me some money or I'm going to leave. He tried to pull a Debo, okay? All in the 2000s. And that boy's name, was Mark Martin. Remember? Keep all of that in mind. Now, this article is coming from News and Record, from the News and Record section from Greensboro.com. This article was originally from July 24th, 1991. And then it was updated January 25th, 2015. I'm telling you these dates because I'm going to read through this start to finish. And I need y'all to really take in all of the dates that I just gave you, okay? Now, it's titled Thomas's Sister is No Welfare Queen. Yeah, Thomas was telling people at the Heritage Foundation that his sister was a lazy, shiftless welfare queen. I wish I was joking. Everyone remembers Janet Cook, the Washington Post reporter who won a Pulitzer Prize for a story about a 7-year-old heroin addict. It was poignant, terrifying tearjerker of a story. Unfortunately, it was pure fiction. Now it appears we have a new Cook-like episode, this one cooked up by federal judge Clarence Thomas, President Bush's nominee to replace Justice Thurgood Marshall on the Supreme Court. This is why you don't just replace one black person with another black person. We ain't all the same. Shit. In an often quoted speech that he delivered to a conference of black conservatives in 1980, Thomas said of his sister, who was then on welfare, and I quote, "She gets mad when the mailman is late with her welfare check. That's how dependent she is. What's worse is that now her kids feel entitled to the check too. They have no motivation for doing better or getting out of that situation." To hear Thomas tell it, his sister sounded like a classic welfare queen, a painful example of how a well intended government handout can tie families to a cycle of poverty and dependency. But Thomas's stunning story wasn't true. Not quite. When reporters recently tracked down Thomas's sister, Emma Mae Martin, living in a beat up frame house in Pinpoint, Georgia, where he was born, they didn't find a story of welfare dependency. Instead, they found a story of hard work by 3 generations of a family struggling like most other families do just to make ends meet. Martin was deserted by her husband in 1973, just as her father had disappeared 25 years earlier. She worked 2 minimum wage jobs while her brother attended law school. But stopped working to take care of an elderly aunt who had suffered a stroke. That led to 4 or 5 years on welfare trying to make it on $169 a month. Depending on where you live, that ain't even utilities. That's over. She now works as a cook at the same hospital where her mother is a nurse's assistant. What about her children, who Thomas said were being indoctrinated into welfare dependency? This is where I need y'all to really pay attention, okay? Open up your ears. Open up your ears. Remember, the grandnephew is Mark Martin that was taken in 1997. As it turns out, Mark, 22, works as a carpenter. Christine, 20, recently was laid off from a bakery. Leola, 15, is still a student. And the eldest, Clarence, served aboard the battleship Wisconsin during Operation Desert Storm. Keep in mind, this highly prestigious boarding school is a military-based boarding school. How do you go to a military-based boarding school, but it's your older brother that goes into the military and you come out and a few years after graduation, you're working as a carpenter? And if Mark is 22, who did they take in 1997? because it sounds like it would have been Leola that would have needed help. Because remember, the article is originally from 1991. It was updated in 2015. And the update part I didn't even get to. As you can tell, because they were talking about her finally getting back on her feet and working at the same hospital as her mother. Her mother has been retired for years now. That's the whole Harlan Crow renovated the mama's house. And the mama was living there rent-free. Because something had my spidey sense tingling. And I was like, is this really his relative or is this Jenny Thomas's relative? Because looking into this boarding school, a black kid would stick out like a sore thumb. A black kid would, like, if Jesus was what white evangelicals really think that he looked like, a long-haired Kenny Loggins, they would have found him. Real simple. When they was looking for him, like, where's the baby cry? They would have found him. Everybody been like, Snow White over there. Because this is a school that doesn't seem to get, and not to be funny, how are you going hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt regarding a child that's not accustomed to much? And I'm not saying you should shortchange any child, but this isn't like he took in Paris Hilton as a teenager. And they're claiming this child was a teenager when they took him in. From where? Who did they have in the house? Or was there even anybody like... Because we know Jenny Thomas's biggest come up was Clarence. And she is the ultimate Svengali over this man. All of his connections have been most beneficial to her. If you didn't catch my sugar daddies of SCOTUS, honey, they keep giving her money to start all these foundations and start these businesses. Like she's their child. And this is why Congress is hauling them in. So who is this child that they were taking care of? Like, I cannot prove it yet. I'm going to still keep digging. Because just like Speaker Johnson's black son, you can't find any pictures. There's no mention. There's no nothing. And I'm sure everybody remembers that iconic interview he did in his refurbished RV. RVs aren't cheap. And this is why I say they keep playing in our faces. You got a fucking custom RV going, I just like to be out here like the regular folk. Bitch. You got an RV like Will Smith. Rich people just call them trailers. Y'all know a trailer ain't nothing but a souped up RV, right? But this child wasn't on the road with them. Like if things were so bad for this child that you had to take him in, why wasn't this child around? And if in 91 Mark was grown, who'd you put through that school? But child. Today has been a day for news. I feel like it's a Friday. Usually they put this much news on me on a Friday because, they don't be liking me that much. But the other big story where I can tell y'all, I told you so. Stop doubting me, okay? I spend too much time in the archives and being politically nosy, okay? I don't like to be in other people's business. I like to be in the business of people I pay. Wait a minute. That I pay with my tax dollars. To any of my employees, don't get excited. I still don't give a damn about y'all personal life. When you need a day off, please stop calling me talking about where you got to go. I don't give a damn. Okay, don't bring me no notes, no nothing. Rules still apply. We are separate. Now, Mr. Mark Meadows. Now, before I get into this update, I want you all to keep in mind that Mark Meadows was previously scheduled when all the indictments started coming down to meet with the Department of Justice until texts were leaked. And then he pulled a no call, no show on the DOJ. Okay, he got spookity spooked. But he does still have a diet immunity deal with the DOJ right now for the grand jury. Yeah. But remember, he was trying to appeal for the second time to get his case moved to federal court. They said no. Nah. They said no. Nah. Okay. So his argument was that he's an attorney. I'm sorry that I keep chuckling, but these attorneys with these bullshit arguments just okay. His argument was that his actions that have placed him under indictment were part of his official federal duties. And he has implied in the past that his duties when it came to President Trump were limitless. Bitch, we're not talking about a marriage. Okay, we're not talking about you taking care of your children. Okay, we're talking about you having a job, a 9 to 5. The fuck? And now, the appellate court upheld a previous decision. The statute that Meadows attempted to use was Section 1442A1. Now, per the court, and I quote, "This does not apply to former federal officers, and even if it did, the events giving rise to this criminal action were not related to Meadows' official duties." Once again, motherfucker, they said you can't help incite an insurrection. That ain't a part of nobody's job. That ain't your job. That ain't your job. Now this was a relatively swift ruling. It was issued within one business day. They got it Friday. Came out yesterday. The judge who penned this decision, y'all, this is an extremely conservative George W. Bush appointee. Judge William Pryor, who I feel like we're playing Kevin Bacon, 6 Degrees of Separation, who is an ally of Clarence Thomas. I promise you, it was not playing like this. This is how the news rolled out, okay? Y'all know I can't stand Clarence Thomas. Y'all. So, and Pryor is... Think of the most uptight conservative you've ever met in your life. He's more conservative than them. He makes Amy Coney Barrett look like Cardi B. Yeah. His clerks, like this is how cool he is with Thomas. His clerks, when they're done working for him, generally go on to work for Thomas up at SCOTUS. I feel sorry for them, and I hope none of them drink Coca-Cola. I said I was informative. I didn't say I was still a heathen. Now, there are a lot of people that are like, is he now going to finally talk to Fonnie Willis about a possible plea deal? He can. he can do all that. But keep in mind, Fonnie Willis said that she's going, and I quote, full steam ahead when it comes to Trump, Giuliani, and Meadows, the top three. Now, could he try to swing something so he stays out of prison? Yeah. But will it completely take him? No, I highly doubt that. Highly doubt that. But hopefully he'll stop the bullshit shenanigans. Now we're not done with the courtroom because, as you know, Rudy Giuliani was ordered to pay on Friday a shit ton of money. Yes, yet again. But 15 minutes after the ruling, he decided to defame Moss and Freeman again right in front of the courthouse. So you know what they did? You know what they did. Oh, they're suing his ass again. With the quickness. They said, we ain't E.G. and Carrot. We're not going to give you a year or two to get your shit together. We're doing it again now. You said it now. We're going to sue you now. And this time around, this lawsuit is seeking a permanent barring of Giuliani from defaming him. And here's something I need y'all to keep in mind. All of his rhetoric that he's doing to the public, because if you look at the court transcripts, he's apologetic in court. He's admitting that he was wrong, that the information was wrong, and all this other stuff. He is posturing for the MAGA crowd, for Trump. And it's like, why are you staying so loyal to Trump? You are legitimately going broke. You already didn't have the best reputation. You got honey, your foot stuck in the cemetery. Okay? The skeletons, they hold on to you. Okay? They done made you a place in cemetery Airbnb. All right? We see the writing is on the wall, honey. The Grim Reaper got you on the checklist, buddy boy. Trump's not helping you with any bills. Trump's not helping you with anything. He's literally letting you sink. Did you not see what is happening and has happened to Mike Lindell? Ain't that much motherfucking loyalty. And first of all, loyalty goes both ways. Because one thing for certain, two things for sure. If you got to hide that we friends, we ain't friends. If you need to use me to protect you, we ain't friends. If you think you're going to come into my space to shine, we ain't friends. Now, will I sit back and let you make a plumb damn fool of yourself? Abso-fucking-lutely. Because I'm a petty heathen, okay? But all of this rhetoric could potentially be a bond violation, a bond agreement violation for Rudy Giuliani. This could be viewed as witness intimidation because remember, part of the indictment coming out of Fulton County and technically one of the Jack Smith cases, Moss and Freeman are on the witness list. Him continually lying and defaming them, knowing that violence and violent rhetoric will be targeted towards them, that's witness intimidation. We're not talking about Trump. And Trump doesn't have a choice but to pay. But Rudy Giuliani could see himself with his bond revoked sitting behind bars. He keeps playing this game for the MAGA crowd as if he's up for election. Honey, before there was MAGA, Rudy, you were the front runner in 2008 for the presidential election. Most people don't even remember that you were on the ticket. Now, last night, during a Newsmax interview, Rudy Giuliani, he is vying. He is vying. He is vying to just be thrown into the ground with no casket. Because at this point, his casket could be repossessed and cut up and divvied out to people so that they can sell it for scrap and get some of their money back. Okay. He said that he knew he could be sued again for continuing with the rhetoric. I'm paraphrasing. He also claimed that he's being sued in order for Moss and Freeman to force him to lie. He claims that the duo must prove that he was deliberately lying. Honey, they did that twice already. Twice already. Twice. No, he was not. He's never been elected Democratic. He started out his career as Democratic. Then he went to independent. Then he did a fusion ballot libertarian GOP when he first ran for mayor and he lost. Then he was GOP, and that's when he was hiring off-duty corrections officers, police officers, and firemen to intimidate Democratic voters at polling places. He's never been elected as a Democrat. He switches up his political party in order to get jobs within the Justice Department. Yeah, he started off as a Democrat, but he couldn't get hired as a Democrat. So yeah, Rudy. Now, I saved this for last for a reason. Now, as we go through this, you can get mad, you can come out the bag. I don't give a shit. It's very easy to ignore comments on YouTube and on LinkedIn because that's where this is streaming to, both places. So keep it cute or keep it pushing because I don't have to go back and see either one of them. Okay. But I want you to pay attention to exactly what I'm going to tell you regarding this update regarding Israel and Gaza and Palestinians. And before the close of the week, it'll be here on YouTube. I'm going to do a breakdown of one of the founders of the ACLU. Because Zionism is power and is profitable. And right now, there are groups co-opting Zionist narratives to push theirs ahead. And nobody's really catching how dangerous and detrimental that is. Hey, Mr. Rogers. Now, as of today, December 19th, 2023, over 20,000 Palestinians have lost their lives. That can be confirmed. Let me repeat, that can be confirmed. The 3 Israelis that we found out were killed, and like I said previously, Israel has been killing their own this whole time and blaming it on Hamas. This time, and I told y'all, even before all the information dropped, that Israel was forced into admitting this. They were forced to admit it. And I'm going to tell you why they were forced into admitting it. These 3 individuals wrote SOS and 3 Israeli hostages, I'm paraphrasing, in Hebrew with old food onto white pieces of fabric. One of the fathers of the gentleman confirmed that was where the SOS was. That was his son's handwriting. The families are not forgiving, and I'm happy for that. Black people, take note. Stop forgiving every fucking body. And they're also not buying the bullshit, the thoughts, the prayers that we're so sorry, we made a mistake, we'll do better from the Israeli government, the IOF, and the IDF. These people know what the fuck is going on. Also, I need you all to keep in mind that publicly, no United States president since the creation of Israel as a Jewish state, has argued publicly with an Israeli prime minister. That doesn't mean that they didn't skippity pat behind the scenes. We know how President Carter felt about Israel. He wrote a book about it. And has done several interviews since his presidency on the what over there. They need to break that trend, especially now that BB from Philly is walking around puffing out his chest like he just walking around deboing the fuck out of Joe Biden. Joey, Jojo, I'm gonna need you to let your balls drop. I need Congressman Jojo, not VP Jojo, not POTUS Jojo. I need Congressman Jojo to show up for this one. I need Jojo that said, yeah, I know I need to be sworn in, but my kid's in a hospital. Fuck your rules. You gonna make an accommodation for me, or you can get a new senator. I need that Jojo to pull up. I need the Jojo that's like, how we gonna save the kids? I'm not arguing with y'all, and this is what we're gonna do. I need that Jojo to show up. I need the Jojo that after a fucked up start to her career, Miss Sandra Day O'Connor, who had to start off working for the DA's office for free because people only wanted to hire her, who was top of the class at Stanford, to be a secretary, who told everybody we gonna vote her in unanimously. I'm surprised Reagan put her through, but this is what we gonna do. I don't give a fuck you GOP or you Democrat. That's who I need to show up. You friends with BB, this is the time. You say that you about family and setting examples. Set an example for every child in the United States right now and show them how friends hold friends accountable. Go snatch him up by his collar. Say, stop trying to make a fool out of me. I see what the fuck you did. You done lied to me. You're fucking these people up over there. You ain't even supposed to be over there. You Polish bitch. Your group, we friends because we basically went to school together. And get his ass together and don't let another person, man, woman, child, non-binary, die over there on the Gaza Strip. I don't give a fuck about all these think pieces that people have. You ain't even got the fucking campaign, Jojo. Even if everybody stayed home and didn't fucking vote. Ding, ding, ding. Your ass gonna be in there because it's going to Congress. Got to go through both houses. He ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. At this point, even if Trump got on the ballot in most places, Trump no longer has the electoral votes. Trump never had the electoral votes. Conservatives cannot vote a woman in because that goes against conservatism. They'll vote a woman into government on certain levels, but that goes against conservatism. Now, there has been a global push for hostage recovery as well as yet another permanent ceasefire. The hospital systems are completely collapsing. There are more than 2 million people that are trying to survive just in southern Gaza, because remember, they pushed the northern to the south. It takes at least 500 trucks of aid per day just for basic survival on a regular day with no war, okay? No war, no bombings, no kidnappings, no fuck shit, okay? Right now, they're getting between 100 and 200 trucks daily that are currently allowed in. And a lot of times, from what I'm gathering and what the research I've been able to do, these trucks aren't even full, like to capacity. And have you noticed that the Hamas rape narrative is now just a talking point? because it wasn't making any sense. If all these women are raped, how'd you find out if they're all dead? And they were trying to say that these women were horrifically raped the night that everything started. Now, if you snatching up hostages and trying to hide the hostages, how you having hours to rape people? And out of all the people we've seen leave custody from Hamas, because I haven't seen, Israel hasn't released any videos when they released their hostages. We don't know what the fuck they look like. They're not beat up. They're in their same clothes. The one little girl had her dog with her. When she got picked up, she's like, oh, it's my dog. We can't leave him. They were like, bring the dog with them. They took care of the fucking dog too. Hamas hostages are just living as Palestinians do, so that they can go back home and have some sympathy. And all the propaganda that's like, why aren't they releasing more women? How do we know that they have those women? Given that we know there was a lie about October 7th. And so much more. Just like the CGI tunnels pictures that are coming up, and the Hamas.com website, and all of their evidence that's in English. For a country that's not a country, 2 strips of land that speak exclusively Arabic. Why would they have books and letters in English? Why would they have a whole website that's supposed to be covert for them in English? Why would they be carrying around their top secret super spy plans on English? There are no Hamas videos. They're not narrated. Well, it's coming from over the world. You have to fulfill your service regardless of where you move to. There are tons of Zionists globally that are volunteering. And the whole Hamas rape narrative is now being co-opted by people who are anti-Islamic governments. They're now saying that it's in the DNA of this Islamic men to rape people. It is amazing that Big Z Zionists, especially Big Z Zionists within the Jewish diaspora, keep utilizing the same tactics that were used against them. Because you want to know the last time somebody was saying, oh, this category of people, this group of people, this is what is when they were equating the Jewish community within the United States with communists and saying that communists were subhuman and savage. He's an actual IDF soldier. The soldiers are from all over the world. When it's time for them to serve, they have to go back to Israel, just like Gal Gadot served. The only one that doesn't have to serve is Bibi's son. Yeah. We don't know who has who, where they are, no nothing. Because let me explain something to you. If you can't find me, you don't know where I am. How do you know everything I've said to everybody? How do you know everything that I've done? You should be able to pull in and come get me. And this is why I say people love drama and people love to feel better than other people, because Israel is just using an old school gossip technique. How many times has the person who doesn't talk to you, spends the least amount of time with you, believed when they're out telling everybody what you do on a daily basis, who you around, what goes on in your house? Just like now there's commercials going around because they realize they can't just be anti-Hamas because they realize people are standing behind the Palestinian people. And now they're like, Hamas is bad for everyone. We stand behind the Israeli people and the Palestinian people. Hamas, they did not respect the ceasefire. The fuck? Y'all know we got eyes and ears. But I digress. As always, thank you for joining me here. Make sure you check out the links in the description of this video. And if you missed the public memorial service for the Honorable Sandra Day O'Connor, it is linked. It is in 3 parts because it was televised. So that's just the way that it goes. Also, be safe. Keep in mind that RSV is going around, flu, pneumonia, and COVID. And there are some tidbits on how to stay healthy and keep other people healthy should you celebrate this winter holiday season. How to quarantine yourself, when not to quarantine, etc., etc. If you have not got your boosters, please make sure you go out and do it. Check with your local pharmacy and get her done. And I'll see you all tomorrow. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one.